Millionaire chooses mistress over wife and newborn son, regrets it and fights desperately to win back what he destroyed. Leave your like and enjoy the story. The spring rain pounded relentlessly against the towering windows of the Harrison estate, but the storm outside paled in comparison to the chaos unfolding within. Abigail Harrison stood in the dimly lit foyer, clutching her 8-week-old son Noah in her arms, his soft breaths the only anchor to her crumbling reality. The polished mahogany floors, once a symbol of a life meticulously built, now felt as unyielding as the man before her. "You and the boy need to leave by dawn," declared Ethan Harrison, his voice slicing through the air like a blade. He avoided her gaze, his eyes fixed on the ornate chandelier above, its crystals glinting coldly in the half-light. Abigail's body still ached from childbirth, her heart heavy from sleepless nights tending to Noah, but Ethan stood there, impassive, adjusting the cufflinks she'd given him for their first anniversary. "Ethan, please," Abigail's voice quavered, but she pressed on, holding Noah closer. "He's only 2 months old, I'm still recovering. Where are we supposed to go?" Ethan's jaw tightened, his fingers brushing the leather briefcase at his side. "I've made my decision, Abigail. Vanessa and I are starting fresh. This," he gestured vaguely at her and Noah as if they were disposable obstacles, "doesn't fit." Vanessa. The name seared Abigail's chest like a brand. The woman who had slithered into their lives 6 months ago, all charm and calculated smiles, promising Ethan a life unburdened by domestic ties. Now, she lingered at the foyer's edge, her silhouette framed by the archway, her sapphire eyes gleaming with triumph. "The papers are being drawn up," Ethan continued, his tone clipped, finally meeting Abigail's gaze. His hazel eyes, once full of vows, now held only detachment. "My lawyer will handle the details." Noah stirred, letting out a faint whimper, and Ethan's expression faltered for a moment before hardening again. 5 years of marriage, whispered promises under starlit skies, reduced to this, a transaction, a payoff. Abigail's laugh was brittle, echoing in the vast space. "You think a check can erase this? You're abandoning your son, Ethan." His voice took on a defensive edge, a crack in his composure. "I'm giving you enough to start over. It's better this way. I wasn't cut out for this life." Vanessa stepped forward, her heels clicking against the wood, each step a deliberate punctuation to Abigail's exile. She placed a hand on Ethan's arm, the touch possessive. "You should be grateful," she purred, her voice dripping with false pity. Most men wouldn't offer anything. Something ignited in Abigail, a spark of defiance cutting through the fog of betrayal. She straightened, her voice steady, despite the tears burning her eyes. "Keep your money, Ethan. Keep this estate, your private jets, your shiny new future with her. But remember this moment, when you chose your ego over your own blood." She turned, ascending the grand staircase, Vanessa stepping aside with a faint smirk. Noah remained quiet, as if sensing the weight of their departure. The nursery, with its hand-stitched quilts and star-shaped mobile, now felt like a mockery. Abigail packed with precision, diapers, onesies, formula, a few practical clothes for herself. The silk dresses Ethan had bought stayed in the closet. They belonged to a woman she no longer recognized. Her fingers brushed a photo on the dresser, their wedding day, Ethan's smile radiant, her own eyes brimming with hope. She'd believed in forever, but forever, it seemed, had an expiration date of 5 years and a son he didn't want. Back in the foyer, Ethan was gone, but Vanessa lingered, adjusting her earrings in a gilded mirror. "Don't worry," she purred, not turning. "I'll keep him entertained. He deserves someone who matches his ambitions." Abigail adjusted Noah in her arms, shielding him from the chill. "What he deserves," she said, her voice low, "is something you'll never understand. Integrity." The rain had thickened when Abigail stepped outside, but she didn't hesitate. Noah's weight grounded her, fueling a strength she hadn't known she possessed. The estate's lights cast eerie shadows on the gravel drive, like ghosts of the life she was leaving behind. She dialed her old friend, Rachel, who lived in town, her fingers trembling but resolute. As she waited for Rachel to pick up, Abigail looked at Noah's face, his eyes wide and curious despite the hour. In them, she saw a future, unscripted, uncertain, but hers to shape. "We'll be okay, little one," she whispered, kissing his forehead. Rachel answered, her voice sleepy but warm, and as Abigail explained, her resolve hardened. She made a silent vow to Noah. This wouldn't define them. Ethan Harrison could take her home, her stability, but he couldn't steal her spirit. A cab arrived, its headlights slicing through the rain. Abigail settled into the back seat, Noah calm against her chest. "Where to?" the driver asked, his voice kind. Abigail took a deep breath, the weight of tomorrow pressing but not breaking her. "Downtown," she said, her voice firm. "Time to start over." The cab pulled away, the Harrison estate fading into the sodden night, a relic of a life that no longer held her. Ethan's shadow lingered in her mind, a man who'd chosen fleeting desire over duty, unaware that some choices leave wounds deeper than any fortune can heal. The summer sun streamed through the windows of Abigail's coffee shop, casting golden patterns across the oak tables. Sunrise Brew wasn't just a business, it was a testament to her grit, a dream forged from the ashes of her past. "Mom, can I add more cinnamon to the scones?" Noah's voice rang out from behind the counter, where he perched on a stool, stirring batter with care. At 4 years old, he was Abigail's mirror, same stubborn jaw, same spark in his hazel eyes when focused. "Just a pinch, buddy," Abigail replied, arranging a tray of muffins in the display case. "We don't want them too spicy, right?" Noah grinned, his laugh a melody in the quiet morning. "Like when I put too much syrup on my waffles." Abigail's heart warmed, these small moments weaving the fabric of their new life. The past 4 years had been a grind. Nights studying business courses online, days juggling waitressing shifts, saving every penny. But this coffee shop, nestled in a lively corner of Portland, Oregon, was proof of what she could build. The bell above the door jingled and Rachel breezed in, arms laden with fresh herbs from the farmer's market. "There's my favorite baker," she exclaimed, making Noah beam with pride. "Rachel, look at my scones." Noah held up a lumpy creation, proudly dusted with cinnamon. Rachel shot Abigail a playful glance before turning to Noah. "Masterpiece, kiddo. You're going to put me out of a job." As Rachel settled at a corner table with her usual cappuccino, Abigail noticed a shift in her friend's expression. "What's up?" she asked, wiping her hands on her apron. Rachel hesitated, then slid her phone across the table. A headline jumped from the screen. "Harrison Tech founder bankrupt after multi-million-dollar fraud by partner." Abigail's pulse quickened. Vanessa had vanished, taking Ethan's fortune, leaving him a broken man. The article detailed the scam, forged documents, drained accounts, a trail of lies ending with her fleeing the country. "You okay?" Rachel asked, her voice soft, her eyes flicking to Noah, still happily sprinkling cinnamon. Abigail squared her shoulders, suppressing a storm of emotions. "It's not my problem anymore." But the words felt hollow. Memories flooded back, Ethan's rejection, Vanessa's smug grin, the rain on her face as she walked away. Part of her wanted to revel in his downfall, but another part ached at the irony of his betrayal mirrored. The morning rush consumed her, customers streaming in for their lattes and pastries. Abigail moved with precision, but her mind lingered on the news. During a lull, Rachel offered, "I can watch Noah if you need a breather." Abigail shook her head. "I'm fine, it's just, he left us for her, and she did exactly what I said she would. Poetic, isn't it?" Rachel smirked. "Karma's got a wicked recipe." The bell jingled again, and Abigail froze. Ethan Harrison stood in the doorway, a shadow of the tycoon he'd been. Gone were the tailored suits replaced by a simple jacket and jeans. The confidence that defined him was absent, traded for a quiet vulnerability. "Abigail," he said, his voice barely carrying across the shop. Noah looked up curious, and Abigail's instincts flared. "Rachel, can you take Noah to check the blueberry scones in the back?" Rachel nodded, guiding Noah, who cast a puzzled glance at the stranger. "What are you doing here, Ethan?" Abigail asked, her voice steady despite her racing heart. He took a hesitant step. "I read about your shop in a local paper. I needed to see you." "Because Vanessa took everything." Her words were sharp, unapologetic. He flinched. "I deserve that. Worse, even." He looked around, taking in the cozy space she'd created. "You've built something amazing here." "Without any help from you," Abigail said, her tone softening slightly. "What do you want?" "To apologize," he said, his voice raw. "I was selfish, blind. What I did to you and Noah, it's unforgivable. I know that. But he's my son, and I've missed 4 years of his life. I want to try to be the father he deserves, if you'll let me." Noah's laughter echoed from the kitchen, a sound that made Ethan's eyes glisten. "He's happy," Abigail said firmly. "We're happy. I won't let you disrupt that." "I'm not asking to come back into your life," Ethan said, his voice breaking. "Just a chance to know him, to prove I'm not that man anymore." Abigail studied him, noting the exhaustion in his face, the sincerity in his eyes. She pictured Noah asking about his dad as he grew, wondering why he wasn't there. Could she deny him that connection, even if Ethan didn't deserve it? "I'll think about it," she said finally. "But if I agree, it's on my terms. One misstep, Ethan, and you're gone." He nodded, relief crossing his face. "Thank you, Abigail, for even considering." As he turned to leave, she called, "Ethan." He paused. "I'm sorry about Vanessa. Not because you didn't deserve it, but because betrayal hurts, no matter who it hits." He gave a weak, sad smile. "The difference is, I earned you, and Noah never deserved yours." The bell jingled as he left, and Abigail stood still, watching him vanish into the street. Noah's voice broke the silence. "Mum, the scones are ready." She took a deep breath, heading to the kitchen, certain of one thing. Whatever Ethan's return meant, she held the reins now. The city park buzzed with the energy of a sunny Saturday, kids darting between swings and families sprawled across the green lawn. Abigail sat on a wooden bench, her hands clasped tightly in her lap, her heart wavering between caution and hope. She'd chosen this spot deliberately for Ethan's first meeting with Noah, a public, neutral space with plenty of exits if things went south. Rachel sat beside her, a steady presence amid the whirlwind of emotions Abigail was trying to contain. "You don't have to do this," Rachel reminded her, her eyes on Noah, who was gleefully climbing the jungle gym nearby. "No one would blame you for backing out." Abigail shook her head, her gaze fixed on her son. "Noah deserves a chance to know his dad, even if Ethan doesn't deserve to know him." A familiar figure appeared at the park's entrance, and Abigail's heart skipped. Ethan was there, scanning the playground until his eyes found her. He looked different from the coffee shop visit last week, tidier though far from the mogul he once was. In his hands, he held a small gift bag. "No gifts," Abigail called, her voice firm as he approached. "Not yet. We agreed on that." Ethan immediately set the bag by a nearby trash can, raising his hands in surrender. "You're right. Sorry, I didn't think it through." "Seems to be a habit," Rachel muttered, earning a sharp look from Abigail. "Rachel, can you grab Noah?" Abigail asked, keeping her voice steady. "It's time." As Rachel headed to the jungle gym, Ethan shifted uncomfortably. How do you want to do this?" "We tell the truth in a way he'll understand," Abigail replied. "He knows some kids have dads who don't live with them. We've talked about it." Ethan's face tightened slightly, a reminder of all he'd missed, but he composed himself quickly. When Rachel returned with Noah, the boy was chattering about how he'd climbed to the top. His sandy curls bounced with each step, and he stopped, eyeing the stranger beside his mom with curiosity. "Noah, sweetie," Abigail said gently. "There's someone here who wants to meet you." Noah glanced at Ethan, then at Abigail, and sidled closer to her, suddenly shy, a rarity for his usually outgoing nature. "Hi, Noah," Ethan said, his voice thick with emotion. He crouched to meet Noah's eyes, keeping a respectful distance. I'm your dad." Noah's eyes widened, and he gripped Abigail's hand. "My daddy?" Abigail squeezed his hand reassuringly. "That's right, buddy. Remember how we talked about some daddies living in other houses? This is your daddy, and he wants to get to know you." Noah studied Ethan with a child's intense scrutiny. "Do you like scones?" he asked finally, making Rachel stifle a laugh. "Love scones," Ethan replied earnestly. "I hear you're pretty good at making them." "I put cinnamon on top," Noah announced, proud. "But sometimes Mom says it's too much." "Never too much cinnamon," Ethan said, earning Noah's first real smile. The next hour passed in a blur of playground activities. Noah, deciding Ethan was an acceptable companion, insisted on showing his super cool tricks on the slide. Ethan helped him climb, his face a mix of joy and sorrow, as he experienced simple moments he should have had years ago. Abigail watched from the bench, her emotions at war. Seeing Noah laugh as Ethan pushed him on the swing stirred memories of her own childhood dreams, a united family, a devoted dad, a life built on love and trust. Dreams that shattered that rainy night 4 years ago. "He's good with Noah," Rachel observed quietly. "He's trying to be," Abigail corrected. "Let's see if it lasts." As if sensing the conversation, Ethan glanced over, his eyes meeting Abigail's. In that moment she saw everything he didn't say. Regret, gratitude, determination. She looked away first. "Mom!" Noah shouted. "Look how fast I slide!" "Careful, Noah, no running on the slide," Abigail and Ethan said in unison, startling them both. Noah, oblivious to the tension, pouted but kept playing. "Can we get ice cream?" he asked, hopeful. Ethan looked to Abigail, deferring to her. She checked her watch. They'd been at the park nearly an hour, longer than she'd planned. "Not today, buddy," she said kindly. "It's almost lunchtime and Aunt Rachel's making your favorite grilled cheese." "Can Daddy come?" Noah asked innocently, making everyone flinch. Ethan recovered first. "Not today, champ. But maybe another time if your mom says it's okay." He glanced at Abigail. "I should get going." Noah's face fell slightly, but he didn't protest. Instead, he surprised everyone by running to Ethan and hugging his legs briefly. "Bye, Daddy." Ethan froze, overwhelmed by the simple gesture. His hands hovered uncertainly before giving Noah a gentle pat on the back. "Bye, Noah. Thanks for playing with me today." As Rachel took Noah back to the slide for one last go, Ethan turned to Abigail. "Thank you," he said quietly. He's incredible. You've done an amazing job, Abigail." "I had to," she replied, her voice firm. "I didn't have a choice." Ethan winced, but nodded. "I know. I'd like to do this again, if you're okay with it. Maybe once a week I can work around your schedule." Abigail studied him for a moment. "Saturdays, same time, same place for now," she said, pausing before adding, "If you let him down, Ethan, if you make promises you can't keep—" "I won't," he interrupted, his voice resolute. "I know I have to earn this. His trust, your trust. I'm not asking for forgiveness, Abigail, just a chance to be the dad he deserves." "Actions speak louder than words," Abigail said. "Show up, be consistent, prove you mean it." Ethan nodded solemnly. "I will." "And Abigail," he hesitated, "seeing you with him, the life you've built, I'm proud of you even if I have no right to be." Before Abigail could respond, Noah came bounding back, full of stories about his latest slide. Ethan said goodbye, promising to see him next Saturday, and walked out of the park. Abigail watched, noting how he paused by the trash can, glanced at the gift bag for a moment, then left it there. "Well," Rachel said as they headed to the car, Noah skipping ahead, "that went better than I expected." Abigail murmured agreement, her mind already racing with the implications of this new chapter. As she buckled Noah into his car seat, he asked, "Is Daddy coming back next Saturday?" Abigail answered carefully, "If you want him to." Noah nodded, thoughtful, then asked, "Can we eat grilled cheese now?" Abigail smiled, grateful for her son's simple priorities. "Yeah, buddy, we can eat grilled cheese now." As they drove away, Abigail glimpsed a lone figure at the corner watching them leave. Ethan raised a hand in a small wave, and despite everything, Abigail found herself hoping, for Noah's sake, that he meant what he said about changing. But hope was a dangerous thing, and Abigail had learned the hard way that it could cut deeper than any knife. This time she'd guard her heart, and more importantly, Noah's, no matter what Ethan tried to prove. Hey, you who's diving into this story. Before we keep going, how about leaving a little spark of your energy here? We're not asking for the usual like and subscribe. We want something unique. Think of a time in your life when you had to start over, like Abigail, and share one word in the comments that captures that experience. Maybe it's strength, courage, or even chaos. We'll weave your words into a cloud of stories, showing how our journeys connect. And if you want to join our community, hit that subscribe button. It's quick and helps us bring more stories like this. Ready? Let's do this. 4 Saturdays in a row, and Ethan hadn't missed a single one. Abigail watched from her usual bench as he helped Noah navigate the climbing bars, his hands hovering protectively below the boy. The September heat was giving way to October's crispness, and most of the park's regulars had swapped playgrounds for cozier activities. "Time for hot cocoa, buddy," Abigail called, checking her watch. They'd started bringing thermoses of hot cocoa to fend off the chill, a routine Noah now loved. "Coming," Noah replied, letting Ethan help him down from the bars. He raced to Abigail, his cheeks pink from the cold and play. "Can Daddy have some too?" Abigail hesitated, then nodded. She'd brought an extra mug, though she wasn't sure why. "If he wants." Ethan approached cautiously, accepting the steaming mug with grateful hands. "Thanks," he said, sitting at the far end of the bench, keeping the careful distance that had become an unspoken rule. Noah wedged himself between them, oblivious to the tension, sipping his cocoa. "Daddy, do you have a house?" The innocent question made both adults freeze. Ethan recovered first, clearing his throat. "I have an apartment now, not too far from here." "Is it bigger than our house?" Noah asked, a cocoa mustache forming above his lip. "Nope, champ, it's way smaller," Ethan said, his voice tinged with a weight Noah couldn't grasp, but Abigail understood clearly. The mighty Ethan Harrison, reduced to a modest apartment, while his ex-lover lived lavishly off his stolen fortune. "Detective Larson called yesterday," Ethan said quietly, as Noah got distracted by a squirrel scampering across the playground. "They found Vanessa." Abigail's hand tightened on her mug. "And?" "She's in the Caymans, out of their reach," he said with a bitter laugh. "Turns out she'd been planning this for years, even before me." "What do you mean?" Abigail asked, her tone neutral but curious. Ethan took a deep breath, his eyes on Noah as he spoke. "She targeted me on purpose. Larson found evidence she'd done this before, under different names. She specialized in wealthy men having midlife crises, men dumb enough to throw away everything that mattered for a fantasy." Abigail absorbed the information, feeling an unexpected pang. The idea that her family had been destroyed not just by Ethan's weakness, but by a calculated scheme, reopened the wound. "She had files on me," Ethan continued, his voice nearly a whisper. "Pictures of us, you, me, even Noah. She knew exactly when to approach me, what to say, how to—" He trailed off, shame coloring his features. "I was a complete fool." "You were," Abigail agreed, but her voice lacked its usual edge. "She took everything." Ethan nodded. "Pretty much. The company's insurance covered some losses, but personally," he shrugged, "I'm starting over. Got a job at a smaller consulting firm. The apartment's rented. It's good for me, I think. Learning to live with less. Figuring out what really matters." "Daddy, look!" Noah interrupted, pointing at the squirrel, now nibbling on an acorn. "He's eating breakfast." Ethan smiled, genuine warmth replacing the sadness in his eyes. "Must be a Portland squirrel. They love acorns." Noah giggled, then sneezed suddenly. Abigail reached for the tissues in her bag, but Ethan was faster, pulling a pack from his coat pocket. "Here," he said, offering one to Noah, who took it with a muffled "thanks." Abigail watched the exchange, a mix of surprise and wariness. Ethan was trying, that much was clear, but trying didn't erase the past. "Noah, why don't you show Daddy your new swing trick?" Abigail suggested, needing a moment to process. Noah nodded eagerly, tugging Ethan's hand. As they walked away, Rachel slid onto the bench beside Abigail. "He's doing well," she said, watching Ethan push Noah on the swing. "So far," Abigail replied, her eyes on her son. "But trusting him is like walking a tightrope. One slip, and it all comes crashing down." Rachel put a hand on Abigail's shoulder. "You're in charge, Abigail. If he messes up, you know what to do." Abigail nodded, but her mind churned. Seeing Noah so at ease with Ethan was both comforting and terrifying. She wanted her son to have a dad, but not at the cost of the peace they'd fought for. When the visit ended, Noah ran back, bursting with tales of his super-fast swings. Ethan said goodbye, promising to return next Saturday, and Abigail watched him leave, the gift bag still by the trash can, untouched. In the car, Noah asked, "Is Daddy nice, Mum?" Abigail smiled, choosing her words carefully. "He's trying, buddy. We'll see how he does." Noah nodded, satisfied, and shifted to talking about grilled cheese. As they drove, Abigail thought about the road ahead. Ethan was trying, yes, but the future was a blank page and she held the pen. The October sun filtered through the park's canopy, painting the ground with dappled shadows as a crisp breeze carried the faint scent of fallen leaves. Abigail sat on her usual bench, her hands resting in her lap, but her mind in a quiet storm. 5 weeks of unbroken visits between Ethan and Noah, and the routine was starting to feel, if not comfortable, at least predictable. Noah, now more at ease, darted between the slide and climbing bars, with Ethan close by, attentive, as if afraid the moment might vanish. Rachel's presence beside Abigail was a solid reminder that despite the apparent calm, each step on this path was fragile, like walking on thin ice. "He's really stepping up," Rachel commented, her eyes following Noah, who was unsuccessfully trying to convince Ethan to climb the jungle gym with him. "Not sure if I'm impressed or suspicious." Abigail gave a half smile, her gaze locked on her son. Both. He might be trying, but 4 years don't vanish in 5 weeks. Still, she couldn't deny what she saw. Ethan, once a symbol of arrogance, now knelt to tie Noah's shoelace or laughed with him when the boy named the park squirrels. It was a version of the man she'd never known, not even in their marriage's best days. Noah ran back, cheeks flushed, clutching a crinkled leaf he'd found. "Mom, look, it's a fall leaf, right?" Abigail took the leaf, twirling it between her fingers. "You got it, buddy. Fall's starting to show off." Noah giggled, satisfied, and turned to Ethan. "Daddy, have you seen a tree that turns all red?" Ethan crouched, his face lighting up at the question. "Sure have. Back in my hometown, there was a maple in my grandma's yard that went bright red every fall. I'd climb it and pretend I was a firefighter saving cats." Noah's eyes widened, enchanted. "You were a firefighter?" "The best firefighter," Ethan replied, his smile tinged with nostalgia. "And want me to show you how to make a boat out of that leaf?" Noah nodded vigorously, and they sat on the grass, Ethan folding the leaf carefully while explaining each step. Abigail watched, a lump forming in her throat. It was the kind of moment she'd imagined for Noah years ago, a present dad, sharing simple stories, building memories. But the memory of that rainy night, when Ethan cast them out, still burned, a reminder that sweet moments don't erase scars. Rachel leaned closer, her voice low. "You're overthinking. I can see it on your face." Abigail sighed. "It's just, he's being everything I wanted him to be before. But how do I trust that? What if it's just a phase, Rachel? What if he hurts Noah?" Rachel rested a hand on Abigail's arm. "You're not handing him the reins, Abigail. You set the pace, the boundaries. If he slips, you cut him off. But for now, Noah's happy. That's not nothing." Abigail nodded, but the weight of the decision pressed on her. She wanted to protect Noah above all, but she also saw the spark in his eyes when Ethan showed up. Denying that felt cruel, but opening the door too wide felt reckless. "Hot cocoa time," she called, needing a break to gather her thoughts. Noah ran back, clutching his leaf boat with Ethan trailing behind. "Can Daddy have some too?" Noah asked, already knowing the answer but giving Abigail his best puppy eyes. She handed a mug to Ethan, who took it with a shy, "Thanks." They sat on the bench, Noah between them, chattering about how his boat could sail in the park's pond. Then, out of nowhere, Noah looked at Ethan. "Daddy, why don't you live with us?" The question landed like a stone in the silence, and Abigail felt the air grow heavier. Ethan swallowed hard, his face tense as he searched for words. "Well, champ," he began, his voice careful. "Sometimes grown-ups make choices that change things. I don't live with you because I made some big mistakes. But now I'm here trying to do things right because I really want to know you." Noah frowned, processing. "Did you fight with Mom?" Ethan glanced at Abigail, as if asking permission to continue. She gave a slight nod, her heart tight. "Not exactly a fight," Ethan said. "I made bad choices, and your mom was super strong to take care of you on her own. She's like a superhero, you know?" Noah grinned, looking at Abigail. "Mom's the best!" Abigail laughed despite the tension and ruffled his hair. "You're the best, buddy." But Noah's curiosity persisted. "Are you going to live with us someday?" This time, Abigail stepped in, her voice gentle but firm. "Noah, Daddy's here to see you on Saturdays, and that's what we've got for now, okay? Let's enjoy these times." Noah nodded, distracted by a squirrel scampering nearby. But Abigail and Ethan exchanged a look. There was an unspoken question there. How far would this go? After more playtime, the visit wrapped up. Noah hugged Ethan, a gesture that now felt natural, and ran to show Rachel his leaf boat. Ethan turned to Abigail, his voice low. "Thanks for today. I know it's not easy for you." "It's not," she admitted, "but Noah's enjoying it. Just don't make me regret letting you into his life." "I won't," he promised, his eyes earnest. "Can't about what he asked. I know I don't have a right to want more than this. I just want to be a good dad." Abigail studied his face, searching for any hint of deceit, but found only a vulnerability that disarmed her. "Keep showing up," she said finally. "That's what matters." Ethan nodded and said goodbye, walking out of the park with slightly straighter shoulders. In the car, Noah chatted about the boat and the squirrels, but Abigail barely heard, lost in thought. The idea of Ethan planning a future with Noah, of wanting more than weekly visits, was both daunting and intriguing. She knew Noah was forming a deep bond with his dad, and that scared her as much as it warmed her. At home, as Noah drew a map of his leaf boat's adventures, Rachel joined Abigail in the kitchen pouring coffee. "You're thinking about that apartment idea, aren't you?" she asked, a sly smile on her face. Abigail sighed, stirring her coffee. "I'm thinking about everything. Noah, Ethan, what happens if I let him in more? If he fails, Rachel, Noah doesn't deserve that." Rachel nodded, serious. "True, but Ethan's showing he wants to be different. I'm not saying trust him blindly, but maybe it's worth testing a next step. Something small like this garden thing." Abigail sipped her coffee, the warmth contrasting with the chill of uncertainty. "Maybe, but I'll go slow. Noah comes first. Always." That night, as she tucked Noah into bed, he clutched her hand, his eyes sleepy. "Mom, can Daddy help with my garden forever?" Abigail smiled, her heart tight. "Let's plant the seeds first, buddy. One step at a time, okay?" Noah yawned, content, and drifted off. In the quiet apartment, Abigail gazed out the window, Portland's lights twinkling like distant stars. The life she'd built, Sunrise Brew, Noah's laughter, Rachel's friendship, was her foundation, but Ethan's presence added a new layer, uncertain, but no longer so frightening. She knew the next Saturday, with its promise of seeds and gardens, would be another test. For Ethan, for her, for the future they were slowly beginning to imagine. The June sun brought unexpected warmth to the park, and the lawn felt more alive, with kids running and dogs barking in the distance. Abigail watched Noah and Ethan digging small holes in the soft dirt of Rachel's backyard, which Noah had declared the perfect spot for his garden. The boy, wielding his toy shovel, flung dirt everywhere, laughing as Ethan tried and failed to keep things tidy. Rachel, lounging in a lawn chair with a lemonade, shouted exaggerated instructions, clearly enjoying the chaos. "Watch my rosemary, Noah," she called, feigning outrage. "That bed's sacred." Noah giggled, sticking out his tongue, and kept digging, while Ethan glanced at Abigail with a grin, knowing he was in uncharted territory but glad to be there. Abigail stood on the porch, holding a tray of lemonade glasses, feeling a mix of contentment and caution. The scene before her was almost picturesque. Noah, dirt-streaked and radiant. Ethan, sleeves rolled up, explaining how seeds needed water and sun. Rachel, laughing and snapping photos to blackmail Noah when he's a teenager. But beneath the lightness, Abigail carried the weight of responsibility. Letting Ethan into Rachel's backyard, into something as personal as Noah's project, was a step beyond the park. It was a test, and she watched his every move closely. Noah ran up, hands caked in dirt. "Mom, look, we're making a real garden. Daddy says the flowers will grow to the moon." Abigail laughed, handing him a glass of lemonade. "To the moon, huh? Let's see if they reach your knees first." Noah gulped the lemonade, leaving a sugary mustache, and raced back to Ethan, who was now scattering seeds with care. Abigail brought the tray to Rachel, who grabbed a glass with a, "Thanks, boss." "See?" Rachel said, nodding toward Ethan. "The guy's doing all right. Almost looks like he knows what he's doing with those seeds." Abigail sat beside her, her eyes on Ethan and Noah. "He's trying, but I keep waiting for the moment something goes wrong, like I can't let myself relax." Rachel sipped her lemonade, thoughtful. "That's normal. He put you through hell, but look, Noah's loving this. And Ethan, he's not just going through the motions. You can tell he wants to be part of it." Abigail nodded, but her mind raced. During the week, Ethan had called to confirm the planting details, even suggesting they get a small watering can for Noah. These small, steady gestures were starting to chip away at the wall she'd built. Still, the memory of that rainy night, Ethan's coldness, Vanessa's smirk lingered, a shadow that wouldn't fully fade. When the planting was done, Noah ran to Abigail, proud, pointing at the mounds of dirt. "Mom, now we wait for the flowers. Daddy says he'll come every Saturday to water with me." Abigail glanced at Ethan, who was wiping his hands on his jeans, a bit sheepish. "Every Saturday, huh?" she asked, her tone light but probing. Ethan nodded, serious. "If you and Noah are okay with it, I'm in. I want him to see the flowers grow, and I want to be here for it." The sincerity in his voice caught her off guard. Abigail felt something shift, a crack, not trust, but a space where the possibility of a different future was taking shape. "All right," she said finally. "We'll see how the flowers do. And you too." Noah cheered, tugging Ethan to show him the best spot to store the shovel, and Abigail watched, her heart a little lighter. The day ended with everyone on Rachel's porch, munching cookies Noah had insisted on bringing from Sunrise Brew. Ethan shared stories of his childhood in rural Oregon, making Noah laugh with tales of falling out of trees and chasing chickens. Abigail listened, surprised at how these stories revealed an Ethan she'd never known, a simple kid, before wealth and arrogance turned him into the man who betrayed her. When Ethan said goodbye, Noah hugged him tightly, promising to take care of the seeds real good. Ethan looked at Abigail, his eyes full of gratitude. Thanks for today. It was special. It was good for Noah, Abigail replied, keeping her tone even but with a faint smile. Keep it up. He nodded and left, leaving Abigail with a feeling she hadn't felt in years. The chance that maybe the past could be rewritten, not erased, but transformed into something new. The July sun poured golden light over Rachel's backyard, where Noah's little garden was showing signs of life. Green sprouts poked through the soil, delicate but determined, as if mirroring the slow rebuilding happening before them. Abigail watched from the porch, a mug of coffee in her hands, as Noah, kneeling beside Ethan, pointed excitedly at each sprout, naming them like pets. This one's Major Sprout, and that's Princess Bloom, he declared, his voice brimming with pride. Ethan chuckled, holding a tiny watering can he'd bought for Noah, following the boy's over-the-top instructions on how to not drown Major Sprout. Rachel, perched in a lawn chair with an oversized straw hat, narrated the scene like a wildlife documentary. And here we have young Noah, budding botanist, guiding his father in a high-stakes gardening mission, she said, pretending to hold a microphone. Abigail laughed, the sound lighter than she expected. 10 months had passed since that tense first meeting in the park, and what began as a cautious experiment now felt like a fixture in Noah's life. Ethan didn't just show up every Saturday. He'd started texting during the week, asking about Noah's preschool, or if he needed anything for the garden. These small, consistent acts forced Abigail to rethink the man she thought she knew. Still, she kept one foot back, aware that trust, once shattered, took time to rebuild. Noah ran to the porch, his hands smudged with dirt. "Mum, Major Sprout's growing. Daddy says it's going to be a huge flower." Abigail smiled, wiping a dirt streak from his cheek. "Huge, huh? We'll have to reinforce Rachel's yard then." Noah giggled and raced back to Ethan, who was now explaining how roots needed room to spread. Abigail watched, noting Ethan's patience, the way he leaned in to hear every word Noah said, as if nothing else mattered. It was unsettling in a way to see this side of him, a present dad, something she'd pictured so often during Noah's lonely early years, but never expected to witness. Rachel leaned over, lowering her voice. "You're looking more at ease today." Even smiled without that "I'll throttle him if he messes up" vibe. Abigail snorted but didn't deny it. "It's weird, Rachel. He's doing everything right, but I keep waiting for the mask to slip. Is that paranoia or just common sense?" Rachel sipped her iced tea, thoughtful. "Maybe it's just you being a mom. You want to protect Noah, and that's normal. But look, Ethan's really trying. I'm not saying ditch the caution, but maybe you can enjoy these moments a bit without bracing for the worst." Abigail nodded, the advice sinking in. Over the past month, Ethan had suggested small expansions to their visits, like taking Noah to a nearby science museum or spending an afternoon at the zoo. Abigail had declined the initial ideas, preferring to keep things at Rachel's backyard or the park, but Ethan's gentle persistence, always respecting her boundaries, was starting to soften her resistance. Recently, he'd mentioned a storytelling event at the local library, something Noah would love, and Abigail found herself considering it. As Noah and Ethan finished watering the sprouts, Abigail brought a tray of cookies to the yard, setting it on the table by Rachel. Noah ran over, grabbing a cookie with his still dirty hands. "Daddy, come eat. Mom made the chocolate chip ones you like." Ethan approached, taking a cookie with a grin. "These are the best, champ. Your mom's a wizard in the kitchen." Noah nodded enthusiastically, mouth full. "The best in the world." Abigail laughed, feeling an unexpected warmth at the compliment. For a moment, the scene felt almost ordinary, a family sharing cookies in a sunny backyard. But the word family still made her pause, like a territory she wasn't ready to enter. After Noah returned to the garden, dragging Ethan to check the sprouts, Abigail sat with Rachel, her mind buzzing. "He asked to take Noah to a storytelling thing at the library," she said, almost testing the idea aloud. "It's next Saturday, public place, not far." Rachel raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "And you're thinking about it?" Abigail sighed, watching Noah try to convince Ethan to dig a moat to guard the flowers. "Maybe. Noah would love it, and it's educational, safe, but it's the first time he'd go somewhere besides the park or here with Ethan. Feels big. Rachel nodded, serious. It's a step, for sure. But you could go too, right? Keep an eye out. See how he handles it outside the usual. Abigail mulled it over, surprised by how feasible it sounded. Going along meant keeping control while allowing something new. I'll think about it, she said finally. But if I go, I'll have a rule list so long Ethan'll need a lawyer to read it. Rachel laughed, nudging her shoulder. That's the Abigail I know. When the day ended, Noah hugged Ethan tightly, vowing to protect Major Sprout till Saturday. Ethan looked at Abigail, hesitant. About that storytelling event. I know you're thinking it over, but if you want to come along, that'd be great. For Noah and for me, too. Abigail raised an eyebrow, caught off guard by the vulnerability in his voice. I'll let you know by Wednesday, she replied, keeping her tone neutral, but with a slight nod. Ethan smiled, grateful, and left, his step lighter than it had been weeks ago. On the drive home, Noah babbled about the garden, spinning tales of Major Sprout battling weedy villains. Abigail listened, but her thoughts were on the library proposal. It was a small but significant step, a test not just for Ethan but for herself. Could she let the past rest even a little to give Noah a chance at a present dad? At home, as Noah bathed, Rachel joined Abigail in the kitchen, helping with dishes. You look like you're plotting a covert op, Rachel teased. Abigail chuckled, drying a plate. Maybe I am. The library thing. I think I'll let him go. But I'm going too, obviously. Not ready to loosen the reins yet. Rachel nodded, approving. Smart. You're giving it a shot, but on your terms. Noah'll love it, and Ethan's got to keep proving himself. That night, as she tucked Noah into bed, he grabbed her hand, his eyes gleaming in the dark. Mum, when Major Sprout grows, will Daddy bring more seeds? Abigail smiled, smoothing his hair. If he keeps taking care of them, maybe. Now sleep, buddy. Noah drifted off with a grin, and Abigail lingered, her heart full of love and uncertainty. In the quiet apartment, she grabbed her phone and texted Ethan, Storytelling's a go, I'm coming, rules Friday. His reply came almost instantly. Thanks, Abigail. I won't let you down. She set the phone down, gazing out at Portland's lights. The life she'd built was solid, but Ethan's presence added a new layer, not as frightening anymore, but still full of questions. The library Saturday would be another chapter, and for the first time Abigail felt she was writing this story with a little less fear. The storytelling day dawned bright, with a clear sky that seemed to promise something fresh. The Portland Public Library, with its tall shelves and musty book smell, was decked out with colorful banners and cushions scattered on the floor, where kids gathered to hear a storyteller dressed as a wizard. Noah, seated between Abigail and Ethan, bounced with excitement, his eyes glued to the man waving a book like a magic wand. Abigail watched everything, the way Noah leaned toward Ethan to whisper something, how Ethan responded with a patient smile, even the care he took with Noah's backpack, stuffed with snacks and a sketch pad. It was their first outing beyond the park or Rachel's backyard, and Abigail, sitting nearby, kept her senses sharp, but allowed herself to relax just a bit. The storyteller launched into the tale, and Noah laughed loudly when he mimicked a troll's growl. Ethan glanced at Abigail, a spark of gratitude in his eyes, and she returned a subtle nod, a silent acknowledgement that so far he was keeping his word. During the activity, the kids were invited to draw their own stories, and Noah, crayon in hand, asked Ethan to help him create a troll farmer. Abigail watched closely, noting how Ethan knelt to hear Noah's wild ideas, suggesting colors and shapes without taking over. It was a delicate balance, and he seemed to get it. When the session ended, Noah skipped out, clutching his drawing proudly. Mum, Daddy, look at my troll. He grows plants like Major Sprout. Abigail smiled, taking the drawing. It's awesome, buddy. Major Sprout would love a friend like that. Ethan laughed, ruffling Noah's hair. You're an artist, champ. On the way to the car, Noah held Abigail's hand on one side and Ethan's on the other, chattering about trolls and wizards. Abigail felt the weight of the moment. It wasn't just an outing, it was a glimpse of what could be if she allowed it. But caution still anchored her, a reminder that every step needed measuring. In the parking lot, Ethan knelt to say goodbye to Noah, who hugged him tightly. So you're coming next Saturday, right? For the garden? Wouldn't miss it, Ethan replied, glancing at Abigail over Noah's shoulder. Maybe we can draw another friend for Major Sprout. Noah cheered, and Abigail nodded, confirming the next meeting. As Ethan stood, he hesitated, as if wanting to say more. "Abigail, today was special. Thanks for trusting me with this." "It was good for Noah," she said, her tone firm, but with a hint of warmth. "Keep it up, Ethan." He smiled, a smile that carried more than gratitude, and left, heading for the bus stop. In the car, Noah wouldn't stop talking about the storyteller, the troll, and how he wanted to show Rachel his drawing. Abigail drove, her mind swirling. The library trip had been a success, but also a reminder that each new step with Ethan meant facing her own scars. Still, for the first time, she felt the future, though uncertain, didn't have to be feared, as long as she stayed in control. The August sun bathed Rachel's backyard in warm light, tinting Noah's garden sprouts a vivid green that seemed to pulse with life. Major Sprout's flowers, as Noah still called his favorite, were starting to bloom, tiny yellow petals unfurling like proof of the patience and care the boy Ethan and even Abigail had poured in over months. Abigail stood on the porch, holding an iced tea pitcher, her eyes on Noah, who, with his toy shovel, dug beside Ethan, the two debating whether the flowers needed a fort made of twigs. Rachel, sprawled in a lawn chair, wore oversized sunglasses and fanned herself with a magazine, commenting on the scene with her usual wit. "Look at that, Noah's training Ethan to be the next host of a gardening show," she said, chuckling. Abigail smiled, the sound more natural than she'd expected. A full year of weekly visits, since that first tense Saturday in the park, had turned a cautious trial into a routine Noah eagerly awaited, and Abigail had slowly learned to embrace. Ethan didn't just show up faithfully. He'd become a steady presence in Noah's life, remembering milestones like Noah's first day of kindergarten and bringing small surprises, like a picture book about plants or a packet of new seeds. These simple acts had built a fragile but strengthening bridge between a past of betrayal and a present Abigail was still wary of naming. Noah ran to the porch, face sweaty and hands full of dirt. "Mum, Major Sprout's got real flowers. Daddy says he's proud of me." Abigail laughed, handing him an iced tea glass. "Proud, huh? Major Sprout must know you're the best gardener in Portland." Noah chugged the tea, leaving a dirt smudge on the glass, and raced back to Ethan, who was now tying twigs with string to make a fence. Abigail watched, noting the ease in Ethan's interactions with Noah, the way he knelt to hear the boy's wild ideas, how he laughed when Noah spun tales of flowers chatting with bees. It was a scene she'd dreamed of for Noah years ago, but thought lost that rainy night Ethan threw them out of the estate. Now seeing it unfold was both comforting and disorienting, as if past and present coexisted in a delicate balance. Rachel lowered her sunglasses, peering at Abigail over the rims. "You're looking like you're pondering the meaning of life, or at least the next move with Ethan." Abigail sighed, sitting beside her friend. "Pretty much. He's doing everything right, Rachel. Shows up, commits, respects my boundaries. Noah adores him. But I've still got this voice telling me not to trust too much. What if he changes? What if something happens and Noah gets hurt?" Rachel took a sip of tea, thoughtful. "That voice is your strength, Abigail. It got you here, built Sunrise Brew, raised Noah alone. But maybe it can also let you enjoy what's happening a bit. Ethan's not perfect, but he's proving he wants to be different. And Noah, look at him. He's glowing." Abigail followed Rachel's gaze to Noah, now trying to convince Ethan to build a twig castle for the flowers. The boy's smile was infectious, and Ethan, sleeves rolled up and dirt on his hands, looked genuinely happy. Over the past month, Ethan had suggested more outings, a trip to the aquarium, a picnic at Washington Park, and Abigail, after much thought, had allowed some. The aquarium visit with her present had been a hit, with Noah mesmerized by the fish and Ethan patiently explaining why sharks didn't eat the minnows. Each outing was a test, and Ethan passed them all. But Abigail knew the next step, something like letting Noah spend an afternoon at Ethan's apartment, was looming, and the thought still made her stomach knot. As Noah and Ethan finished the castle, Abigail brought a tray of sandwiches to the yard, setting it down. Noah ran over, grabbing one with enthusiasm. "Daddy, come on! Mom made your favorite peanut butter." Ethan approached, taking a sandwich with a shy smile. "You always nail it, Abigail. These are unbeatable." Noah nodded, mouth full. "Mom's the sandwich queen." Abigail laughed, a warmth spreading at the praise. For a moment the scene felt almost mundane. A Saturday afternoon, sandwiches, laughter, a blooming garden. But family still hovered like uncharted land, and Abigail wasn't ready to step there. After Noah returned to the garden, pulling Ethan to defend the flowers from squirrel bandits, Abigail sat with Rachel, her mind restless. "He asked if Noah could spend an afternoon at his place," she said, almost testing the idea. "Said he set up a spare room with toys, books. It's a huge step." Rachel raised an eyebrow, curious. "And you're considering it?" Abigail watched Noah laugh as Ethan pretended to fend off squirrel attacks. "I'm thinking about it, but it'd just be an afternoon, and I'd stay close, maybe even in the apartment. I'm not ready to let Noah go alone with him, but I think Noah would like it." Rachel nodded, serious. "Makes sense, you're giving room but keeping the reins, and look, Noah's so comfortable with him. Maybe it's time to try a new setting." Abigail sipped her tea, the cool drink clashing with the day's warmth. "Maybe, but I'll go slow. Noah comes first, always." When the day ended, Noah hugged Ethan tightly, pointing at the flowers. "You'll come back Saturday, right? Major Sprout needs you." Ethan laughed, ruffling his hair. "Wouldn't miss it, champ." "Maybe we'll build a new fort for Major Sprout," Noah cheered, and Ethan looked at Abigail, tentative. "About the apartment. I know it's a big step. No pressure, okay? I just want Noah to feel at home with me too." Abigail studied his face, searching for any hint of manipulation, but found only sincerity. "I'll think about it," she said finally. "I'll let you know by Friday." Ethan smiled, relieved, and left, his step carrying a cautious hope. On the drive home, Noah rambled about the flowers and squirrel bandits while Abigail drove, her mind full. Letting Noah spend an afternoon at Ethan's was daunting, but also a sign that maybe she was ready to move beyond the backyard. It wasn't forgiveness, not full trust, but an acknowledgement that Ethan was trying and so far succeeding. At home, as Noah bathed, Rachel joined Abigail in the living room, bringing 2 mugs of coffee. "You're planning your next move, aren't you?" she teased. Abigail laughed, taking a mug. "I'm thinking about the apartment. I think I'll allow it, but with rules. I'll stay there, watch, see how Noah does. If it goes well, maybe we can expand." Rachel nodded, approving. "Good call. You're giving it a chance, but on your terms. Noah'll love it, and Ethan's got to keep proving himself." That night, as she tucked Noah into bed, he grabbed her hand, eyes drowsy. "Mom, can Daddy live with us someday?" The question caught Abigail off guard, and she took a deep breath, choosing her words carefully. "Daddy's doing a great job being your daddy on Saturdays, buddy. For now, that's what we've got, and it's pretty good, right?" Noah nodded, half asleep, and mumbled, "Yeah, I like when he comes." Abigail smiled, smoothing his hair, and turned off the light, leaving the door ajar. In the quiet apartment, she sat on the couch, gazing at Portland's lights. The life she'd built, sunrise brew, Noah's laughter, Rachel's friendship, was her safe harbor, but Ethan's presence added a new layer, less uncertain now, but still full of possibilities. On Friday, she texted Ethan, "Afternoon at your place is okay. I'm staying. Rules tomorrow." His reply was quick, "Thank you, Abigail. I'll make it worth it." The next Saturday, Ethan's apartment, small but cozy, with a room decked out with toys and books for Noah, became the stage for another test. Noah explored with excitement, while Abigail watched from a corner, noting how Ethan moved carefully, offering snacks, suggesting games, but always checking with her for approval. The afternoon passed smoothly, with Noah drawing, playing, and even napping on the couch, as Ethan shared stories of his childhood. Back home, Noah couldn't stop talking about Daddy's secret room, and Abigail, for the first time, felt the future could be more than just caution. Months later, Noah's garden bloomed fully, yellow and purple petals swaying in the breeze. Ethan remained a constant, now not just on Saturdays, but with occasional weekday visits, always with Abigail's okay. She'd never forget the past, but she'd learned to live with it, making room for a present where Noah could have a dad, and she a peace hard-won through grit and grace. Their story wasn't perfect, but it was real, and that, Abigail knew, was worth more than any broken vow.
I hope you enjoyed this thrilling journey. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate this story? Let me know in the comments below. Your feedback inspires more epic tales.